If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the On This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of On This Business Bites. I'm Ben. This is Syya. And this week I'm going to talk about, a topic that two of my favorite friends and people that watch the show all the time talk about, Paul Howery and Sunita Reese, belonging to a team. We need to talk about, do we belong? Are we just transcendental, or do we actually truly belong to the people that we work with? And do they belong to us? We can't belong to everybody. We truly can't belong to everybody. We need to find our tribe. Who are the people we add value to? Who are the people that add value to us? And who are the people that we have a symbiotic relationship with that enable us all to be better together? So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
I have really big thoughts about finding your tribe.
Cool.
But I do want to make sure we're clear that we're not talking about being tribal in the context of I'm team A, you're team B, and therefore we can never intertwine.
No, so, we definitely don't want to get into, red versus blue states and everything that goes along with
You're going straight to politics.
Hey, listen, you know what? If we're coming up to that time of the year. November's not that far off. So, if we're going to bounce heads, let's do it now. But we got team red, team blue, but that's a different story altogether. No, I don't want this to be an us versus them. I want to be this as us and them together. And how do we sit there and create symbiotic relationships? So therefore, we sit there and say, you know what? These are the people that get me. These are the people I get. These are the people I can work with. These are the people I hang with. These are the people that we're going to do great things together. Let's go.
I like to think of that as creating your own boardroom, your board of advisors and mentors and whatever. Because you know what? Finding your peeps is such a glorious thing because each one brings a strength to you, a new perspective that maybe you would never have thought before. And this can be anything, you guys, as far as like for me, or because I'm really immature, love to hang out with some younger folks, right? To get their vibe and hear what they're saying and understand like what their priorities are. And of course, there's the established folks, right? Like, apparently I have to listen to my mom all day long when she's yelling at me. But it is really
But you love your mom, right?
I love my mommy.
That's right. You love your
mommy. Except when she nags and yells at me.
Well, that's a different story altogether. But we understand that.
Yeah, but there's a tribe that understands, mothers, my older mothers. So I think finding a commonality, and it doesn't necessarily mean everything that you have is in common. It's just of that situation that you have something in common. Again, going back to the value proposition of relationships, that you have value to give and exchange with one another. It's not always a give or take situation. I understand there is a vulnerability in that tribalism mentality, right? Where it's like, oh, now you've created your own niche, group, whatever you want to call it. But as long, I think, as that group is open to other perspectives, click. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
As long as it doesn't become a click, and people are open to, bringing other people in, I think it is very healthy to find that core group again, but not being, come on, kids, this ain't high school, this ain't middle school. Well, don't be talking about playground BS.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Tribes are also not forever. We come together for a reason. We come together because we have this project, we have this, common identity, we have this, common goal that we're something that we're fighting against or fighting for. Great. We come together, we do what we want to do, and sometimes those groups disband. As you said, we may not have everything in common with the people, but we have a commonality. And I think
Yes.
that we need to realize that our tribes of who we belong to different people at different places and different things for different reasons. And you could
Yes.
be in three different tribes simultaneously, and none of them can be congruent. They actually could be diametrically opposed. But if you have an interest in this and an interest in that and the interest in the other thing, you can be in three different places at the same time and get what you need from each one of those tribes because it's fulfilling a certain need or a certain sense of identity or whatever it is. But it's also sitting there realizing that, you know what? Everybody within that tribe is coming to that tribe with their own hopes, wants, needs, fears, and desires. There may be some continuity. There may be something that's bringing you all together, but it's being able to listen to the nuance of how different people approach a situation that makes that tribe better. Be able to sit there and say, okay, we all agree on this, but we have these things we're diametrically opposed on. Okay, let's talk about that. And say, and how do we elevate everybody at the same time?
I think that's a critical piece, right? How to elevate everyone. I used to say all the time, all ships rise with the tide.
Absolutely.
And the great thing of it is when there is success, it is infectious. If you're around someone that is seeing success or seeing successful results and you're around them, the odds are high. You're probably inspired by them and it's inspiring you to be active as well, or maybe inspiring you to an action or call to action. Or, I hate to say it, when you're around positive people, you become more inclined to be positive or optimistic for opportunities. And maybe that's where the opportunities start coming because now you're open to receiving it.
Yeah. And when you're around a lot of negative people, you tend to be a lot more negative, unfortunately.
That spiral
All goes
down.
down the spiral.
And I hate to say it, but man, sometimes, like you said, tribes can be fluid at times. If one person or a few people decide to make it their own purpose of the tribe or change the description of why everyone is together and that commonality and that foundation starts to crumble, that's where you see a lot of changes and going on. But I think it all goes down to ultimately exchange of value and values, right? That everyone respects equally and that there's no one up or the other in a way that benefits one another, right? So of course, there might be times where one person has maybe quote, the up on the other. Maybe they did them a favor on something, but it's not always a black and white situation, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm eternally like, grateful for this particular individual if they treat me like crap afterwards, right? So I mean, it's kind of weird at the same time of sometimes in relationships you find your people for that season.
Absolutely. I mean, during COVID, I started a group that met every 2 weeks on Zoom. And it was entrepreneurs who sat there and say, you know what? I've never gone through this before. None of us have gone through this before. But maybe through the collective mind, we can come together and be able to do this. And we realized that after a year and a half or 2 years of this, it was time for the group to disband. It was no longer relevant. And certain relationships continued and certain relationships didn't. And some people tried to, keep the Zoom group going. I didn't have the time for it. And there are still people that meet every other week, and they've gone off and done other things with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the evolution, but it's understanding why do you belong and why do you no longer belong and being okay with both of them. Because
Yeah.
we change as individuals, groups change collectively, purpose, situations change. And we need to be comfortable knowing that, whatever we brought us together may not be enough to keep us together forever.
Yes. Yes. It's a hard pill to swallow, my friend. That's a hard pill to swallow because sometimes when you are a community type based person, so I'm an extrovert, I love feeding off the energy of others, but I will say, when you get burnt enough, you start to be a little gun shy on things, of making friends and building that tribe. And let's think about this. If you are burnt, maybe you've been through a few iterations of tribes and you realize, whoa, they never were my tribe to begin with, but maybe in your, glassy eyed view of life, they were. Maybe they were for 10 minutes. How do you and how would you suggest other people's get up and dust themselves off and evolve their new tribe? What would your recommendations be?
I think you need to look at it and sit there and say, is it me, or was it the situation, or was it people within the organization?
Ooh.
What really caused this? And you have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes you're the problem. If you go
Yes.
into 3 different tribes and none of them fit you, you need to sit there and say, okay, was it them or was it me? Sometimes it's them. Sometimes you're sitting there going, I want this, but I really want that. But I'm telling the world I want this, but I truly want that. And that incongruency leads you to join the wrong tribes and to be part of the wrong groups. But sometimes you need to sit there and say, okay, perfect example. I joined a group about 2 years ago, and it was in the change management space. And I thought when I joined it, it was going to be 50 or 60 change management professionals from all over the world that were going to share ideas, get on a chat group, talk about, different projects, ideas. How do you do this? Wait a second, I'm having a problem with that. Great. That crickets. They had an online discussion group and nobody ever talked within it.
Yeah.
And I realized at the time, these people had their small little cliques within the larger tribe. If you had been with this group for the last 5, 6, 7 years, and you had worked your way into the inner circle, then these 5, 6, 10, 15 people were your peeps. But
Right.
they were very hesitant
Yeah.
to allow outsiders into the group and to be doing this. And with that being said, the group went from being over 100 people and it's now down to about 30.
Yeah.
Because they changed the rules and they said, okay, who wants to pay to be part of this? And 70% of the people got up and left. And that's okay, because the people that are still there are the ones that see the value, are the ones that sit there and say, I'm getting something out of this. This is making my life better. I've built a tribe. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm valued, listened to, and understood. And therefore, I want to continue with this. And those who don't, sorry guys, you weren't really part of the tribe anyway. Go play someone in another sandbox.
It just brings it back to, speaking of sandboxes, it's human interactions and behavior. I know we jokingly say, "Oh my God, it sounds so high school," but it's the truth, right? Yeah, look at our neighborhoods, right? There's always a neighborhood clique where there's certain neighborhood, neighbors vibe
Absolutely.
more with the other, and I think, quite frankly, for the mental health of needing to belong, for those folks that feel like, oh my God, I cannot find my tribe, or look within. My suggestion would be, number one, look within and find out what your why is, what really makes you tick, and what your priorities are, because what you might verbalize may not actually be,
Yes, true.
right? Or what you put out there may not actually be who you really are, because for whatever reason you put a facade up, right? It is just like dating, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you don't do the inner work to find out what's going on in your own head, you're probably going to attract the same individual over and over again and wonder, why do I always get the XYZ type personality
Yep.
type, right? So that would be my number one suggestion, is if you're starting to see that you constantly evolve relationships, is it you? Did you not find the right tribe to begin with because you lied to yourself of what it was that you really want? Could be. The second thing is, you know what? Share what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate it. I know I struggle with this. I don't know, Ben, do you? I don't tell people what I want all the time as far as my goals and aspirations. I just do. And I just do. and maybe I should open up more so other people understand why maybe, people behave a certain way. Me, when I'm a biatch, just saying.
Well, and you're not. But, to close this whole thing down, because we need to, put a rabbit in a bow around this, ribbon in a bow around this, is that we need to sit there and say, are we truly connecting with people where we can add value to them, they can add value to us? We're being honest with ourselves about who we are and what we want and what we need. And are we sitting there looking for groups that are going to give us purpose and we can add value to them? Because if we're not doing all of these things, we're lying to ourselves. And when we're lying to ourselves, we're going to disappoint ourselves. And we're going to get ourselves in situations where you're going to be the outsider. You're going to feel unlistened to, unvalued, and underappreciated.
Word.
So let's leave it there. I'm Ben.
I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Not on This, Business Bites.